Wolna. Nyakit. Janet. Stongo Shkinyacha. Hanapi. Hanapi. Kikadus. Halito.
Madawaka.
Sio.
That's the Huntedish.
Kunamante.
Nah.
Yate.
Hello.
Yeah.
Buenos dias, Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yes,
Happy
everybody.
Independence Day to our southern relatives. You know they were natives. They were natives too. You know before the Spaniards came over. You know, and you know, like a couple weeks ago, I caught myself explaining that to she's half native and half Spanish or whatever Latino, and we were talking about her. She doesn't really know a lot about her Native American side, even though her mom's native. She said I was raised, on my Latino side, and I was like, "What do you think they were before the Spaniards came over?"
Yeah.
They're all native, and I've tried to explain that to a Mexican guy before, and that's the last thing he wanted to hear.
Everybody's indigenous to something.
Yeah.
So
So yeah. I like to think of them as natives.
yeah,
Still a lot of tribes down there.
definitely.
Still a lot of tribes down there. There's actually, I met some natives from Mexico here in El Reno.
Awesome.
They spoke Hotin.
Yeah.
So
So when I was learning about where I was from and stuff, everybody's like they talk about where they still everybody down there still talks about where they're from, like whether it's and it's always centered around a location, which is pretty much the way that we do it here.
yeah,
So when I talk to my buddies that are Hispanic like that, I'm like, well, where are you from? And he's like, oh, I'm from Mexico. I'm like, no, where are you from? And he has to tell me, oh, I'm from Matamoros or
Piedras Negras.
yeah, or yeah, wherever it may be down there. So, it's cool that they're still learning too at the same time that we're still learning about where we're from and
Definitely.
especially where we're originally from, not from where we are now. So we learned that while we're that the people in Oregon are still learning more about that. So
Yeah.
the native peoples up there. So Shinoa
Shanoa.
Singer.
All right. All right. Thank you for tuning in.
Lean. Good to see you, brother.
Nyakit, brother Randy.
Yeah.
I think about I wonder if they have like like I think the way that the Spaniards push their language and their lifestyle on them, it happened so far back,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think there's a like it didn't have the effect on them.
Yeah, there
You know,
wasn't like as much of a
yeah.
connect or something. It just kind of
Yeah, like they I don't know, maybe they do. I don't know. Like I've never had that conversation with somebody from down there
yeah.
who knows the difference, So I don't know. That'd be an interesting conversation to have. So would you like to tell us more about your trip?
Oh, the trip was good, man. I mean, you were there,
I was there.
so well, you probably don't remember
I
seeing
don't I
anything,
don't see nothing.
but yeah, it was a good trip, man. I thought that we did a really good job when we got up there to talk, and it resonated with a lot more people than I think that we realized.
Oh yeah.
That's not, suicide isn't really an area we tend to focus on, but it is a part of what we do because
Yeah.
it's so,
The mental health.
yeah, it's so, it's still a part of recovery. And
Mm-hmm.
whether you're affected by it, I definitely know that you probably know somebody that was affected by it.
Definitely.
So mental health is a big deal. And to see so many people come together and to want to try to help others, it's a big deal. And I think a big part of what I learned is like you're getting out there into different areas. Like, of course, everybody that's going to a suicide prevention conference is going to be centered around suicide prevention.
Yeah.
To have somebody in the recovery field that goes to a suicide prevention conference, that's that's reaching out, that's branching out beyond what you normally do. So like it
Mhm.
doesn't do us any good to go sit around with a bunch of other recovery people. We'd rather go reach out to some other
Yeah,
group to where they realize, hey, recovery is a part of this
very
community too,
important.
or mental health is a part of this community or this community or this
Yeah,
community. And so we kind of stood out in that part when we were up there, because
definitely.
there wasn't any, to what I could see, there wasn't any other recovery
Yeah,
groups that were
it
up there
was
like that.
all centered around, which it's always a great cause. I've had my experience with that. I do see how they tie together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't think of it that way. Maybe not as much, but I feel like maybe my family members that did drink themselves to death.
Yeah.
Like it was. I don't think they seen a way out.
Yeah, and it's like you always point out, it's like you say all the time, like you weren't afraid to die.
Yeah,
You were afraid of living.
yeah,
And I think that's a point, and everybody that's in active addiction is like, I don't think any of them are afraid to die, or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing.
yeah,
And
definitely.
so if it happens, they're just like, oh well, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
happen.
whether that or not they think that it's like a suicide nature, that's still something that everybody kind of goes by. And I think
Mhm.
that statement in itself kind of resonated with a lot of people up there, because I don't even know if they've even heard that before.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, I got a lot out of that, just hearing the feedback from everybody. And
Yeah,
I still have people reaching out to me on my LinkedIn talking about how it resonated with people. And I've added, like, I don't know how many people that said they heard us talk up there on there, and they're still trying to reach out and get more
definitely.
resources from us and stuff. So it's good.
That's cool.
Um, but yeah. So what'd you think, man? Did you like to visit everywhere and eat everything in sight?
Man, my clothes are all tight now. All my shirts, my boots poking out a little bit more. But just the experience. I got my vision problems going on. It's gonna be a few months before I get but like um while we were there, I see, like when you see the two rods and the electricity go up it,
Yep.
like that's where, like when we got up there, like I started seeing it going in places where it used to be dark.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's like, to me, that's like a positive, like light is filtering through where I was blind at,
Yeah.
and like my eyesight's like expanding like every day. But like for that to happen up there, I mean, that was probably the highlight of my trip. Like it was whenever we were leaving that Nike store, I had to go to the restroom, so we had to walk across the street to like where this place where they had a restroom in there.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing light in like all the dark places. And when that happens, I close my eyes just so I can see it. You know what I mean? Like, and it went everywhere, like where I've been blind at.
Mhm.
And that was like I don't know, like
Like
to
a
me,
eye-opening experience.
yeah, like God, like it's just God showing up, and yeah, and of course, I like going to the ocean. Was it Cannon Beach? Seeing Haystack, eating at Moe's. I like Multnomah Falls.
Yeah.
That was beautiful,
It was all cool.
beautiful. And then I mean, just the air. I see what they were talking about. Like the air is just fresher. I don't know, like the mountain, then you get the sea breeze, like it was beautiful, and Portland's not a bad town. Like most big cities are like, they smell like pee. I'm not even gonna lie, and yeah, it was clean.
Yep.
That, and maybe because it rained so much, but I mean, it really was clean.
I think that was a big part for me, is walking outside and being able to actually smell the trees.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that very often here.
Mm.
Every once in a while,
Ain't even no trees.
every once in a while you can, but up there, like you could walk outside and you could just smell the cedar. In the
Yeah,
air.
as soon as you come
And I
out.
was just like, man, I was like, that's freaking awesome. And that's how we found some that we brought back.
Yeah.
You know, we stopped at places and I was like, it smells like it's coming from over there. We'd walk that way and we'd find the trees. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a cool experience to be able to see that and to go out there to the beach. And even though it was windy and it was a little chilly,
Cold. It was cold.
it was nice, man, to be able
Yeah.
to go out there and do that.
Just
So,
the environment.
yeah.
The change of environment. Like, and then to be, just to have that whole trip, like to go talk about what we do here.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure people were trying to make the connection, like, what are these Oklahoma guys doing here? But at the same time, that's what one thing about this group is, we're not afraid. We're not afraid to see what works somewhere else.
Right.
Let's figure out how to help our people out. And it's not about being native. It's not about like I don't see any barriers when it comes to like we always say, addiction does not discriminate.
No, it doesn't.
So neither should recovery. So I think that kind of goes along with today's reading. Do we have any comments?
Oh, we have a lot. There's plenty on here. Let's see here. Go back up to the top. Mr. Travis Ruiz.
Good morning. Nyakit, nephew.
Shanoa, of course.
Shanoa.
Nolene. Isaac said that he comes from Haskell.
Oh.
He must have been a rascal.
Yeah.
So
Haskell Rascal.
Legend says, "Good morning, brothers.
Good
Happy
morning.
belated birthday,
morning,
Barry."
Sean. Thank you.
She
Thank
is
you. I appreciate
183 days well today.
All right. All right.
Misty got on there. Misty Hickson.
Good morning, Misty.
Jen Miller from Billings, Montana.
Billings.
Brother Drew. Good
Good
morning.
morning, Whoopin' Knuckle. Good morning.
Let's see here. Oh, went back up. Andrea Alexander. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, AA. Miss AA.
Viola Burke.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good
David
morning.
Deere.
Stone Cold David.
Jerry White Buffalo. Favorite saying,
You know? Yes, ma'am. Grandma Jerry. Grandma Jerry. Good morning.
Shannon Starr says
Yuck.
good morning. Ruth Bearshield says it's fresh up
morning.
there. Also, they walk a lot up there. So,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Lydia West, Nyakit, everyone from
Nyakit.
Eureka, California.
All right. Thank you for tuning in.
Phyllis the Realist.
Phyllis the
Nyakit.
realist.
Then Mr. Albert Titman, good morning, men. Says.
Oh, Mr. Timmy.
Yep.
Good morning. Good morning.
I just got my certificate today. I'm
Did
all
you really?
excited. Yep, my son's tradition.
All right. Yeah, we're trying to figure out a way to I think it would be the time slot.
Yeah.
Like when would we have these kids available? And I don't think we have any problem like incorporating lessons.
Yeah.
I think it would right now we're trying to figure out the time slot that we could get, the maximum participation. So, Mr. Tipman.
Cat Daddy says, "Hey, Magoo.
What's up? What's going on?
Good morning." Mr. Chappell, morning, my ninjas.
Good morning. Good morning.
He says, "Recovery over everything."
Over everything, Mr. Jake Chappell.
That's
Chappelle.
all caught up. So, you want to do this reading?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this bad boy.
Sorry, I'm producing at the same time as I'm jumping on here. So, all right. Today is May 5th. We're still in the springtime.
Cinco de Mayo.
Spring meditations with our elders. So, there are many things to be shared with the four colors of man, and our common destiny as one family upon our mother, the earth, comes from the traditional circle of elders, Northern Cheyenne. The elders tell us the time will come when the four colors of man will unite into one family. According to the prophecies, we were told this would happen when the sun was blocked in the seventh moon. There was an eclipse of the sun in July 1991. We are now in the new springtime called the coming together time. Each of the four colors of man has knowledge that the other colors need to heal their families. Let us all be willing to all sit in a circle and respect our differences. Creator, let me be willing to have an open mind. That really goes along with everything we're talking about. So I'll turn that over to you, Mr. Botone.
Thank you, Mr. Rebelis, Senor Rebelis. Um, what I thought about was, that open mindedness, that exactly what they were talking about. I remember going to detox in Riverside, California at Pacific Manor. Um, not having any idea about what I was getting into, not having a clue. All I knew is that I was tired of the life I was living. So whatever my sobriety had to look like, I figured out that I tried it my way, right? Like I tried it my way. And the best answer that I could come up with, was being strung out. Like that's as good as it got. And I'm I remember being ashamed to admit that. Like my addiction had got the best of me. And I was ashamed to admit that. And once I got around other people that had the exact same problem that I did, um, it made it easier. It made it easier to talk about those things. It made it, uh, like just sitting around, wouldn't even be in group, just maybe be, getting to know people here on the side while we're smoking a cigarette. And, like you start to understand that the open mind is what helps you take that step. Realizing that you don't have no more answers. I always say I was gifted desperation. I got the gift of desperation, that I was willing to do anything and everything that it took for me to get better, for me to heal, for me to stay sober for one day. Like I was looking at whatever that had to look like. I was more than willing to try it. And, when you get in there, then, my brother Randy was there, thank God, but, you meet other, meet people from all over the country. There are people from everywhere out there, Brooklyn, New York, Florida, San Francisco. Like there's people from all over, Michigan. There's people from Texas. Like you start to realize that it's not a native thing.
Right.
It's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. It's not a, Latino thing. It's not an Asian thing. It's a human problem. And, I heard great things from everybody while I was there. I had a great experience at Detox. Then, of course, I got to, go to Costa Mesa to Dream Recovery. Always got to remember Dream Recovery. And I remember waking up on this day 4 years ago. I remember waking up today, after I got my first day of like sobriety, which was yesterday, May the 4th.
Be with you.
Be with you. 2021. In 2021, I flew out there on the 3rd, got there on the 4th, or, slept it off, got there on the 4th, and woke up sober. And then I remember waking up today, and just the relief, man, just the relief of, them lies, all that, deception, all the things that I was doing to keep my addiction going in my life. It was like all that came off. I didn't have to carry that around no more. I didn't have to fake nothing. I could finally be honest. I could finally, like, I woke up like just happy. I remember jumping up like, man, today's the day. Like I don't know what I was ready for, but because when you get there, like they give you like maybe 2 or 3 days to kind of, see what's going on. Everyone was waking up by 9 o'clock. They're all in this room and they're all like having groups. And it's like there's like 20, 30 people there. And luckily I knew Randy, and like he's like, man, like you ain't got to sit in your room, just come down here and come to group with us. Like, and then you just sit around and like you slowly start to understand what's going on. You start to understand that everybody's there for the same reason. Everybody's looking for an answer. Everybody's looking for guidance. Everybody was lost. And we're finally like in a positive place, in a safe place. And I think about those things, like where I was mentally, how I felt physically, and what emotions were going through my mind. And all them emotions that you're running from, of course, they start to hit you. But then they start hitting you in a different way, like you use those, you use it for, I use it as motivation, to get better. Like I was there and there wasn't no turning back. Like I'm in this 100%. Like I'm not trying to like see what's going on and then try to figure out like, do I want to try that or not? Like I was all the way in.
What you can get away with.
Yeah. Like what can I like? Do I feel like being vulnerable, or you know what I mean? And like no, it was like from the get go. Like I like to talk. Like from the get go, like I jumped in this thing head first, and I've had a lot of great experiences. Coming from all colors of the of
Wheel.
the wheel.
I
I,
was waiting for you to try to grab
I kept wanting to call it something else. I don't even want to tell you what I was gonna call it up. But man, like I remember going to the Fountain Valley Alano Club, in Orange County in Fountain Valley. And I walk in and this Asian guy, named Marco, comes up and is like hugs me. Glad you're here, man. You want to read? I'm like, what? Like, okay, like, and then Alonzo, he runs the building. He runs a program there that hosts the Fountain Valley Alano Club. Like all these different people like step in, and and the guy that helped me stay sober the most, is my, I'm not even gonna lie. I used to be like racist. I was pretty racist. Just have that mentality. That there's you can't trust. You can't trust people. And once I got into this sobriety thing and I started going to the 506 here in El Reno, like you realize how important an open mind is to having this thing.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand that your way, like if it was up to me, like if this God thing wasn't real, I would be a dead man.
Yeah.
I would definitely be a dead man. And like they say, if you start putting in the work, all these people that love and care about you start coming into your life. Like they start showing up in your life. So, I feel very fortunate, very, very blessed that, to cross paths with the people that I've crossed paths with, and they, definitely weren't all native, and, I'm very proud, I consider most of them my family today. So, that's all I got.
It's a good one.
But no.
Yeah. I when I think about it, it's always centered around, we always say addiction doesn't discriminate, so recovery shouldn't discriminate either. Um, even brother Don, Mr. Cohis comes and says at some point we're all going to come back and we all need to sit back in that circle and realize that we're all tied together no matter what it is that we may be going through. And so I think it's that's kind of a key part, and especially what you just said. Like, there's the people that stayed with you in your life. You realize are the ones that really loved and cared about you, and then you also realize that you thought that there was people in your life that you could rely on that just aren't there anymore.
Mm,
Maybe you don't even talk to them anymore,
yeah.
and it's just like, that's just creator working, that's God working, and removing the things from your life that isn't going to help you grow, and putting people or things into your life that are going to help you grow. And if not that, then you're going to help them grow. And I think that's a key part, and something I'm learning about myself is that not necessarily everything that comes is for your benefit. It could be for the benefit of somebody else. And I think that's as I'm growing and learning about who I am, like, I'm starting to realize that not everything has to benefit me. Like, what I'm doing and what I say or how I portray myself or how I react to something could be to the benefit of somebody else, especially my kids. Like, they watch everything, and I don't think, sometimes we don't even realize that. And it comes to my notice whenever they actually say, "Hey, Dad, you said this the other day," and I'm just like, I don't even remember saying that, but they remember everything. And so, like, I think that's key into understanding that, hey, you never know who may be watching you. You never know who, if it's somebody that we're talking to like on a regular basis that are, one of our people, and if they're watching you and they see how you react to a certain situation, they're going to take that into their mind, and like, man, if he's doing this, then maybe that's how I need to be reacting to. And I think that's kind of key in how we develop relationships with people, especially like we just went to a conference that was primarily, it was primarily all white people. So, but we were still able to connect with people based on our stories, based on who we are, based on not specifically where we're from, but because we've all been through the same stuff. And it doesn't matter what the color of our skin is, because whether it's mental health or addiction or suicide or whatever it may be, all the stories, while they might not be specifically the same, they're pretty close. And I think that helps us to relate to people on a deeper level. And I think that's kind of, that's kind of what I got from today, is that you need to realize that sometimes um, you just need to understand what a person's going through, and not have that judgment side sometimes before you even try to talk to somebody. And I think that's I've had to learn that over time, because I used to be the same way. I used to, kind of judge the book by its cover and everything like that. So, but I think I've kind of grown since then. So
A little
that's
bit.
what I got. That's what I got.
Yeah, you growing a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I think about that. Man, like, like I remember running into this group of, old natives that were living on the streets here in El Reno. And I knew all of them. Like I think one of them asked for a cigarette, gave him a cigarette, and we just got to shooting, just got to talking.
Yeah.
And I remember we sat there and cracked up, like, over the jokes that we were making. We were all teasing each other and, all laughing at each other. And, like I remember just somebody that was sitting there watching us, like, after they walked off, they came up and they were like, what did you say to them? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? What did I say to them? Like, you look like y'all were having like the time of y'all's lives over there. Like what do like, they're people.
I wonder if that's what people think about us all the time. Because
Like,
we're always like that. And I think that's just our nature. Like, just be real with each other, have that, and be able to laugh at the craziest of situations and realize that you're growing from it. And I think those kind of conversations, when you have those, especially with elder people, like, because sometimes you may not even know when the last time it was they got to laugh or if they even thought about whatever it is you thought about in a long time. And so I think being able to have those conversations and share those memories with people sometimes, I think, that's a big deal. So I do that all the time with my family and my elders. They probably get tired of me bringing up old crap all the time.
I I like how, like I feel like I can go just about every town and know like the majority of the people that are, you know what I mean? Like I know a bunch of people from my tribe. You know what I mean? Like I like to say I know everybody and their dog.
Yeah.
Like I can relate to people on so many different levels. But like I was saying back whenever somebody asked me like what were y'all talking about? And I'm just like I have I don't know what you mean because like I remember one time we stopped at the store and every time we stopped there I would always go give this older native gentleman a couple dollars. I would pull over just specifically just so I could go over there and give him a couple dollars. And I remember my Uncle Larry Franklin asked me, he's like, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Like you know what he's gonna go do with that. Like why do you do that every time? I said, because when I'm sitting over there, you better stop and give me a couple dollars.
Right.
Like because I realize, like I'm not too far from sitting over there.
Right.
I'm not, just because I got sober, I'm not sitting way up here and like nah, it's not that at all. I just found a way to give my will to the creator every day.
Yeah.
Like I've learned what happens when I have control of this thing. So when I think about that and I think about my people that are still suffering, like more than likely I've probably used with them. I've drank with them. I've had some kind of interaction where neither one of us was on the straight and narrow. Like more than likely, and that's why I think I get more joy out of seeing somebody else come into recovery and understand what being sober, like I get more joy out of that than I do for me, just getting 4 years. That's not as big as me seeing, two of my relatives at AA last night.
Yeah.
Like that's like that means more to me, than me getting 4 years, like because you see how this thing is going to keep going and going and going and going. And I love that. I love that for my community. I love that for, my people that are still out there suffering, like suffering in silence because, that's what this illness does to you.
Yeah.
Is it makes you feel like you're all alone and that you don't have nobody. And man, like I used to think that I knew a lot of people before and had a lot of friends before.
Yeah.
Doesn't even compare to today.
Yeah.
Does not even compare to today.
And now you can remember.
Yeah, now I can remember, and can't see him. Yeah,
Yeah.
can't see him, but I definitely understand that I connect with people from my heart. And we like when you meet another addict, the thing that you have in common with them is that you know uh nobody's ever done more to you than you've done to yourself. And the pain and heartache that you put yourself through till you found a solution. So I love that about my people. Like I think about all them guys. All them guys have been gone for years. All drank themselves to death. And I think about them from time to time. One they found. He passed away by a river, and they found his bones there like years later. You know, it just makes me wonder. Did he roll into the water? Did you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how did he? Of course, it was hot in summertime. he ended up by the water, but they found his bones like years later. And I just, like I just wondered how many more of my people, are laying somewhere like that, like yeah, I don't know, like just different things go through my mind, and it just wants me to want better for my people.
Yeah.
No matter what tribe you are, no matter what race you are. If you're an alcoholic and you're an addict, I promise you, like, we can have some damn good conversation.
Right.
You
That's
know,
how we build our community, and I think that's it's funny because we were walking around. I was walking around Burger Day with my daughters, and like there were so many people there, like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're just like, "Dad, who was that? Like, how do you know all these people?" And I'm just like, "This is not even close to how many people
yeah,
uh, that know Dad around here." And they're like, "What?" They're like, "I can't. You never talk about any of them or nothing." And I'm just like, "Well, we're not around here all the time." I was like, "So."
they all call you
Yeah,
dad.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't call me dad too. I promise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just funny because just to see their reaction because they're not. It's a different community around here,
Yeah.
versus the one that we're in, and so like to see people react and know who I am and ask about them, or them developing a relationship with you guys to where they're asking about who you guys are and seeing
Oh yeah,
wanting to
Uncle
see Uncle
Eyeball.
Eyeball, and they're like, "Where's he at?" And I'm like, "He's probably here somewhere." And they're like,
Yeah.
We hope we see him." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm sure he hopes he sees you." Too.
I'm telling you, like, kids always remember me.
Yeah. So it was. So
Kids always
it
remember me.
was fun to see that, but like you said, to have that community and to understand that, hey, you can come and talk, and we can have conversations, we can have these kinds of stories because we do this in front of like Facebook and YouTube and stuff, but these same conversations and stuff go on
Definitely.
even when we're not on the camera.
Cuss around though,
Yeah, we
in
cuss
person.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, that's just the sense I get from it all the time when we talk about community and the ones that we're building. So
Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying, it's not a native thing. It's a human problem.
right,
It's a human problem. So, there's just so much that can go into that. So many conversations. But yeah, I did get my 4 year yesterday,
congratulations.
and I do appreciate it. And coming into my fourth year, it's I've never been sober this long. I don't know what's supposed to happen next. But like I was saying, I don't have to worry about that no more.
Right.
I just keep showing up and keep allowing the creator to, put my feet where he needs them, and the rest will follow, So, I appreciate all the love I got yesterday. I really do. I really do appreciate it. I had a great day. I cooked my own dinner, which was blind man spaghetti.
Oh, okay. You made it sound like it was going to be some big
I
deal or something. I'm like,
know.
okay.
No, man, I had blind man spaghetti.
Man, spaghetti sounds delicious.
Hey, it was, I made we're actually I made so much sauce. I made too much sauce. I couldn't tell,
Yeah.
but at the same time, yeah, I went to AA and I got my chip. I had some cake there. Nat's supposed to be bringing that cake later.
Cool.
So, yeah, I mean, very, very blessed. Very, very
Awesome, man.
blessed, man.
You've really helped out a lot of people going through your own journey, and to share it is has been really helpful to a lot of people. And your your show of faith and everything that you've gone through has been, it's even helped me because that to know that you're following what creator wants you to do and what God wants you to do is, that's a huge deal, and that's a big step for a lot of people is to understand that they need to wait and they need to be patient
Mm-hmm.
and to understand that, hey, you may not always get the answer right away.
No.
And you may go through a trial, and man, it hit me when we're in Oregon as, man, I'm going through a lot of stuff. I was like, but have I ever Had I even had that conversation or a prayer with God about being thankful for what it is I'm going through? I was like, because you're supposed to be thankful for all things,
Everything.
whether it's a trial, whether
Yeah.
it's whether you're going through the hardest of times, you're supposed to be thankful for it,
Mm-hmm.
because whether you don't know if you're gonna what's gonna happen on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
As they always say, if you're sitting in a valley, that means that you came off of a mountain and you're about to be on another mountaintop. And so it just like, man, I almost broke down because I was sitting in the room and I was just like, holy crap, how have I not been, like, I've been trying to pray about getting out of it. What's going to happen over here? What's going to happen over there? And then I was just like, it just hit me in my face. So it's just like, you haven't even been thankful for what it is you're doing, what it is you're going through right now. And I was just like, man, I was like, that's a big deal. And so, like, ever since then, every morning I wake up, that's part of my prayer process now.
Yeah.
Man, I'm thankful for what it is that's going on. I was like, I don't know what it is you're doing. I was like, but I'm here for it and I'm ready for it. And I know you're going to guide me through it. So
Yeah.
that's a big part. And so to see your journey and to hear you talk in the way, in the manners you do, I think it helps a lot of people. So congratulations on your 4 years.
Mado, aho.
Let's see.
Nice.
Here. Albert says we should do a survey of the youth in our area to figure out how we can best use it. So that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And while school's in,
Yep.
because we have a health ed or Indian education, somebody over there that could probably help us with that. So where'd Dairy Boy go?
Nobody's in here but us right now.
Yeah. But that's great. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Tibman.
Mr. George Whiteshield says, good morning, brother. Happy
Wouldn't I-
birthday.
Aho,
Says
aho,
you are
brother.
Still the host of Barry After Dark.
That's my big brother right there.
And then Brother Carey's on here. He said we
Brother
had
Carey.
some good young straight dance at the powwow in Shawnee. Just had to mention that it was a good powwow, and congratulations, Mr. Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Nanito. Appreciate it, brother.
Jerry says talking with everybody just means you're shooting the bull.
Yeah. Definitely.
Rossi's on here.
Nyaka, brother Rossi.
Miss Kimberly Sexton, OCO.
Yo.
Phyllis Thurilla says happy birthday.
Thank you.
Janice Meeks says congrats, Barry. I'm going on 4 years too.
Oh, congratulations. Thank you.
Kimberly West says good afternoon. I'm going on 2 years sober.
All right, Kim. Thank you for sharing that.
Jen Miller says congrats, Barry. Now you got everybody wanting to make spaghetti because she says she'll make spaghetti today.
Yeah.
Isaac says glad you made it to 4 years.
So, I hope, brother.
Nat says she just got done with the webinar. She's going to bring the cake in about an hour. Yep. Miss Sexton says congratulations.
Thank you.
4 years.
Appreciate it. I could have been happy about all the things about Portland, right? Because Portland's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Like it's a different atmosphere, and to me the roads are crazy. Like I kept thinking we were on like a continuous bridge because there's barriers and then you see poles. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it felt like we were on a continuous bridge everywhere that we went. But I enjoyed seeing Haystack, going to Cannon Beach, going through Tillamook National Forest. Yeah. Beautiful, right? Like all these things. Seeing the Columbia River, got to dip my toes in the Pacific. I mean, all these beautiful things, right? But I would have to say it's whenever I started seeing the light and the places that I've been blind in my eye. Like that was like a moment where,
like it was all worth it to go up there.
Man, like, just I haven't, I quit being bitter. I quit being, feeling sorry for myself. Like I understand like this is just the way life has to be right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to fight it. There's no point in fighting it anymore. There's no point in, being upset about it. And, like I'm happy. Like I'm so blessed, My granddaughter doesn't understand that I have vision problems. But all day long, Papa, Papa, look, Papa, look, or what are you doing, Papa? Like, I mean, like, it's just nonstop, like she just loves her Papa.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking about the way that she sees me. Like she doesn't see nothing wrong with me.
Hmm.
She doesn't see, all these, whatever health problems I got going on, or not being able to see. Like, she doesn't see me as that at all.
Right.
And it makes me feel normal. Like I really need that little girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, the highlight of my trip was seeing, it looks like electricity on them two poles. The way the electricity goes up. That's what it looks like. And that's what was happening when when we were walking to the bathroom. And I remember sitting there looking in the mirror and just being so grateful.
Yeah.
Like wow, like I can't believe that just happened. Because when that happened before, I got my vision back in those spots. So then I just remember like just looking in the mirror thinking like, wow, you just look like a blur, but
But I still look good.
yeah. Nah. And then it was funny because Darian comes busting in looking for the bathroom.
You guys are crazy.
Like, I better get out of here. But
Him and his chafing all trip.
yeah. But it was yeah, it could have been, I think about all these different things. Could have been the Tillamook National Forest. It could have been the Pacific Ocean. Could have been Haystack. Could have been, all these different things. But no, man, it was a time when God showed up in my life.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know,
That's kind of you say that, but I'm really grateful that we got to go up there. But I'm really grateful that I had that kind of that aha moment.
oh yeah,
It just happened to be that I was in the hotel room when it happened.
yeah,
Does that probably stands out most to me too? Just like you had your moment, and it's crazy to think that I had to go all the way to Portland for that to happen.
yeah,
But to have that realization was it was a kind of a turning point for me, because now I'm like, man, I really need to let go, really need to let go and let God. And I think
yeah,
that's kind of, sometimes that's the hardest part for people in recovery to do.
definitely,
And I think that just to go through whatever trial it is, to be able to let that go and just be like, man, lead me where I need to be.
yeah,
Because that's I'm here for it now. I'm here for it. I was probably being dragged before. Now I'm like, I'm free will, let me go.
yeah,
I'll be right there with you. So um so yeah, that's
yeah.
to see all the good stuff we did, to eat all the food that we did and stuff like that, man, I'm still detoxing
I know, right?
from all that food. Like,
Yeah.
I've tried to, like,
Don't hang out with Darian.
yeah, I was thinking, like, how did I eat so much when I was up there? Because when I came home, I was like, man, I'm good. I told, because Mello was like, what you gonna eat? I'm like, I am not hungry. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, no, I am not hungry. So, and so yeah, I'm still like that. Like, because he was yesterday evening, he was like, what are we gonna have for dinner? I was like, I'm not hungry. And he was like, no, you need to eat something. I'm like, no, I don't need to eat something. I was like, Darian, be quiet. No.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And then our princess, she had a great time.
Oh yeah, man. I mean,
That was very, like
she celebrated like 2 birthdays.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We kept celebrating her birthday everywhere that we went. But like I just thought about like, man, she's always gonna remember that.
Yeah.
Like I can remember when my grandma took me to Lame Deer, Montana.
Yeah.
And I remember like I'll never ever forget that because I got to go with my aunt, my sister Rocky, and Randy's sister Doe.
Mhm.
We all went up there together. And I was 15 at the time, so like I never ever forgot that.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that she was able to experience something good. And we all kind of like looked after her. Like
Speaking of which, Princess just showed up. She said, "Yo, good morning."
What's
you
up,
guys."
Carly?
Miss 19-year-old now.
Yeah, we were just speaking about your experience and the way that I'm just glad you got to come with us, man. That meant a lot to me, and then for you to have a good time, like
Your unforgettable experiences with her.
yes, for sure, and it was cool, it was cool. I really enjoyed that for you. I enjoyed that for your family, and because I thought it was cute the way that they all showed up, to send her off. I was just thinking of like the Clampets, you know,
I'll show up in that little truck or whatever.
for Carlo D. Yeah, like she's going off to war.
I don't know if you're gonna come.
But like the way I was thinking of it is, you're already taking your family places that they've never been.
Right.
Like you're already taking steps to show your younger brothers, like there's a world outside of where we are.
Right.
So I thought, that's what I thought of, while we were up there. Like Carly's definitely setting trends in her family.
Yeah, definitely in her family and definitely in her circle that she has because
Yeah.
everybody sees the opportunities that she's getting and everybody sees that through her stories and through her being able to share.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had at least 2 or 3 people come up and say, "Man, it was powerful just hearing her talk because you don't have a lot of youth that go up and talk like that, and to share, especially about their family and what they've had to go through with addiction and recovery and stuff." So, to hear those stories and to hear how she's impacting people, that's a big deal. And I think that's kind of what our goal was with having our princess, was having her be able to share what she's gone
Definitely.
through and to be able to impact people, especially youth and especially her family, because her brothers are gonna be like, "Man, you got to go and do this," and
I want to go and do it.
now I want to be able to go and do that. So that's kind of awesome. So I'm proud. I'm really proud of her.
I'm really proud
She
of
got
Carly.
2 years older, so I know she's way smarter than she used to be.
Yeah. She's a cool kid too, man. She's a cool kid.
Yeah.
I never heard her complain like one time.
She probably was up here.
Yeah.
She wasn't gonna say it to us. And these guys keep eating all this food.
Yeah.
I haven't even digested my last food. And then she went and walked like 2 hours every night.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, she was cool, she's a cool kid, I appreciate, and I've known her family, I've known her for a long time. Being from out west, I mean, we all know each other. So it was cool. So, well, you want to read any more comments, or
let's see here.
I don't want to do no announcements.
Ruth says, "Happy 4 years of sobriety. Nothing,
Thank you.
Nothing to take lightly. You did the work and helped so many people. Thank you for being you.
Appreciate
Truly
you.
you. Ruggedness and all."
Definitely.
Natalie says, "You guys were just sitting in your room, Buck." I'm sure she was talking about me, but I'll turn that around and say you two were just sitting there. And Andrea says, "Congratulations on 4. Wonderful to meet you on this journey. The spiritual gifts offered will keep being presented. Mado for you and all your hard work."
Mado.
And Carly says, "What's up with you guys? Yes, I did enjoy myself." And then Natalie said, "Everything except for when that lady just looked at her when she fell." I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too.
Carly literally fell and hit her face, and this lady just watched her the whole time.
Watched the whole thing.
I was like, "That's a kid. At least go over there and check on him or something." Just let it happen. Came down. And then Darian busted his wife in the eye.
Yeah.
It's like, man, he's gonna be flying back with 2 people with black eyes, sitting in the middle, acting like.
What was he doing? He's Darian talks,
Yeah.
gyrating, drops. Well, it didn't exactly drop her. She can take a hit. Yeah. But he pointed and she was walking. She just walked right into it. I joined my club.
Dang.
But Jerry Curl was cool.
She was.
Yeah, Jerry Curl's cool. Yeah, it was a great trip, man. I really enjoyed myself.
We give them all a hard time all the time, but we wouldn't be us if we didn't. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I believe that's it.
Caught up, so
Thank
Man,
you,
that was
everybody.
55 minutes, man. I didn't even really like.
Yeah, it goes by quick. It goes by quick. I could spend it all day on here. But like, share, follow, tell your mammy about us. And I appreciate all the well wishes. Very blessed to have 4 years and a day.
Good to be back.
But yeah, it feels great to be back. And we want to say thank you to everybody who came on last week. Ruth and Ron, Farah, Cassandra, then the ladies, the Prevenger Baddies, they did a great job. We appreciate,
They said they're trying to become the harm reduction hotties. And Darian,
self-proclaimed.
yeah, Darian told Desi, should only if you accept Resi Desi.
Yeah, for sure. Harm reduction hotties. Yeah, that's a good one too. But yeah, we appreciate, the way that they were able to pick up our slack. And I'm very grateful, very grateful that these ladies stepped up, and we appreciate the work that they do. So
They're in
thank
OKC.
you. Yeah, they're in OKC at the MMIP rally. So thank you, Theta. Thank you, Resi Desi, and thank you, Tatum. We appreciate you, ladies. So with that, we will see you this afternoon. I hope.